This video is meant if you are currently trading but stuck at a plateau where you cannot find or reach consistency in your habits, resulting into, let's say, consistently being break even or even making losses. So I'm going to ask you to listen to this, maybe close your eyes, and to be open-minded to the ideas I'm suggesting you. First of all, trading, of course, is a quite difficult journey. I call my trading adventure, I call it self-therapy with financial consequences. Because there is no other person accountable than yourself. If you blame the market, stop it, because that will definitely not help you. So you cannot have a better feedback loop than trading when it concerns your personal development. But I would also like to comfort you. All the gurus, all the guys you're listening to or watching that can post 6 or 7 million, 6 or 7 figures results in a year, they have been at a place where you are currently as well. And they were able to get through it and become profitable in such a way that you aspire as well. So I would like to explicitly say, if they can do it, you can do it as well. I'm absolutely sure about it. There is so much money in the market. Every day there are hundreds of billions, if not trillions of dollars going around in the system. And in order for you to have a relaxed, easy life, you only need a tiny fraction of that volume moving around. And when I mean tiny, I mean like 1,000%. Because if you can extract from the market every day $500, which is absolutely nothing, let's say on average, right? So I'm not saying you should take 500 every day. If you're able to do that, you have an easy life, absolutely easy life. So A, you can do it, and B, there's so much money for everybody to do it. So it's about making sure that you get into this state of abundance where you know there is enough money, not only for me, but for all the other people that are also trying to succeed in this game called trading. You might have established all kinds of habits and patterns that you apply each day when you sit behind your desk to find the best setups and the best trades possible with the goal of actually making money. And as you might have figured out by now, probably it's not about your analysis, it's not about your routine, but the most difficult barrier or obstacle to overcome is your mental and especially your emotional state that is currently providing a glass ceiling and that's hindering you to become consistently profitable. And of course you have read or watched many YouTube videos talking about this mental state, which is so important. And they have a general consensus about the main message. It's not about the money. Let's say to become consistently profitable, you should not focus on the money. Some say it's process over profits. The others say just express whatever you do in your trades in terms of R and not in terms of dollars. It's also that consistency, it cannot be forced through the discipline. So many guys say, okay, get this in this routine, wake up at 5 o'clock, start with a coffee, do your green smoothie, start exercising, doing your regular movement, start meditating. However hard you try to discipline yourself to get into all these routines, the most important factor determining your profitability or your consistency, let's talk about consistency, it's your emotional state. So that's actually the layer below your mental state. Even though you force yourself to be very disciplined, if your emotional state below it is still based on, for example, fear, let's say you're on a losing streak and you take subpar or just average setups in the hope that they could become an A+ setup and make profits, you actually take small losses. And this fear that it builds up quietly, subtly, that will start eating away your confidence, no matter how many routines or discipline you apply to your conditions or your surrounding activities when it concerns trading. The moment you are fearful, you can have a decent analysis, but it's all about the execution. So the moment price drops into your level, you might feel some hesitance to taking that trade. And as long as you are in that state of fear, you are guaranteed not to become consistent. Take as many routines and discipline as you want, but you cannot force and you cannot overrule the emotional state that is actually lacking. I would like to challenge you on to dig even deeper and not get stuck in the mental state. So it's all about getting into the right emotional state. And what do I mean with that? It doesn't not necessarily mean that you have to meditate longer, because if you apply meditation to calm yourself down as an activity in the hope that you might, let's say, soothe or calm the restless emotional state that you are actually in, it doesn't work. So it's all about focusing on the emotional state. And the emotional state means that if you can get into a stage where you don't care, and I mean in a general sense, and I don't mean that you don't care in a sense of apathy or even indifference, but that you are in an emotional state where you can accept everything that is. So it means that if you are on a losing streak, it's most important to get into an emotional state where you can be okay with being in a losing streak. Because a losing streak is just statistics. It's about being okay with that this is a learning process and that you are able to get out of a losing streak by getting yourself into an emotional state where you can be okay with whatever happens. So what does it mean? It means that everything in the current state as it is right now is okay. It also means that you are okay with not taking trades. It means that you are also okay with taking a trade. And then it means that it's okay to lose a trade or to win a trade in terms of outcome. So the fact that you have a losing streak doesn't mean anything or doesn't say anything about you as a person. You're just an individual being on this overall very difficult trading journey, and having another loss doesn't necessarily mean or say anything about your personality or about your character. It is, however, important in hindsight to reflect, hey, where can I change some of my behaviors in order to avoid this from happening again? But it's about getting to an emotional state where you are okay with whatever currently is and what will happen. Regardless of the loss, regardless of the wins, it doesn't matter. It also means that getting into this state of emotional acceptance means that you do not have to take this trading adventure very seriously. I tend to make this a really serious game. So I have to be on my toes. I have to be sharp. I have to draw my lines carefully. I have to draw them quickly. And then whenever it happens, I have to be razor sharp and execute. And of course, let's say from a practical point of view, you need to be sharp and ready to execute. But from an emotional state of mind, it's not necessary to be very, very serious about it. It is okay to be, let's say it's important to be okay with however you approach this process. So to get into that state, that's a starting point. So that means that you try to find a place where you can smile and experience enjoyment working on yourself and your process. Discipline is a practical tool to make sure that you tick the necessary boxes in order to avoid mistakes. But discipline is not the starting point to become successful or to become consistent. Because the moment you are in a relaxed emotional state or you are in an acceptant state of being, then it's okay whatever happens. So then you also are in a state where the barriers of entry or barriers to entry a trade, to enter a trade, are on a deeper level taken away, because you can say, hey, according to my system, I place 4 ticks out of 5. That means I have an A+ setup. I'm okay with whatever happens. The market will decide anyway. I'm not in control of the market. I can only control whether or not I have my system ticked. I take a trade and I see whatever happens. Because in the end, trading is all about statistics. And it's all about the statistics in a sense that you don't know, let's say, the order of trades, how they will work. It's like flipping a coin. So if you have done your research correctly, it could be that you have 5 losing trades, but they are just against you because of statistics. And after those 5 losing trades, you can have 10 trades that are going in your favor, and it will fully compensate those 5 losses that you took. So I would like to challenge you to look, maybe even implement it before you start looking for trades and start looking for setups. How am I currently feeling? Am I forcing myself to do all kinds of routines? But how do I actually feel at this moment? Do I feel anxious? Do I feel scared? Do I feel restless? And this can be very subtle, right? So I have kids, and it could happen that one interaction with one of my kids takes me out of a relaxed emotional state. So then I sit in the charts, and even though I have ticked all my disciplinary boxes, there is a restlessness inside of me because I had an argument with my kid, and I feel a bit, let's say, self-critical. And out of that emotional state of being self-critical and not happy with myself, I tend to find the goodness in myself based on the trading outcome that I might take. So then I get restless, I get impatient, and the moment I tend to see a setup that is reasonably okay, so not an A+, but maybe a B or a B+, I force myself, or I, let's say, apply some mental gymnastics. I apply mental gymnastics to make it an A+ setup. I take it without patience, so I go in too early, and then I take the trade and I start adjusting my stop loss. And then I know that I did not take this trade because of a lack of discipline. I did not take this trade because my analysis was shit. No, I took it because I was in the wrong emotional state. And the wrong emotional state actually was the basis for me to actually not be trading at all that day. Until I'm in an emotional state where I can be okay with whatever happened. That I can be okay with the argument I just had with my kid. That I can be fully okay with what it does with me as a person, as a father, as a son as well of my parents. That I can be fully okay, that I feel anxious, that I have attention to it, that I can look at this emotional state and say, this is okay, this just happens, I cannot force this is just how life goes. And, I'm going to trade and I'm going to follow my process, and I do not care if there is no setup for me because I have no control over the market. But when the setup comes, I will patiently look, I will take the trade if it ticks my boxes, not any earlier, not any later. And once I'm in the trade, I'll just follow my plan, I'll follow my process. And whenever it's a loss, it's okay. When it's a break even, it's okay. And when it's in profit, it's also okay. It doesn't change how I can or should or would feel about myself. And this is what I think is holding many people back in taking the next step in becoming a consistent trader. Good luck, guys.